Okay. Well, apologize for the delays. I actually had a gig and I took some of my gear and now nothing's working the way it should be working, but we're gonna get this party started. It is Deal Flow Monday. It's the first Monday in August. This year is gonna go, it's going fast. Uh, things going well for you?
Said, yeah, I mean things are going very well. We're picking out we have four lots. One lot we're building a duplex and three lots we're building single family homes on.
Nice.
And so the three lot project we kind of decided, we mean Julia, my wife, and our builder kind of decided on the floor plan and the finishes. And so I sent that information to the architect along with the replat, the lot dimensions and everything to the architect. And so we're kind of waiting on his feedback as well because he's got a lot of experience in this area of Houston. So that's
Nice.
going great. We're really close to the finish line on our two new construction properties that we're building in the South Union area. So we're really close to being done with those, maybe one or two more weeks.
Excellent.
And yeah, things are going well.
Well, good stuff, man. Good stuff. We got a big conference we're going to this weekend, doing a commercial summit. So a lot of commercial real estate based content. Excited about looking at some deals. If you are on the call and you have a deal that you want us to look at, whether it be a rental or a flip or whatever numbers you want us to run, today is the day. We're going to be looking at a deal. We got a deal pulled up. Albert, I'll share my screen with you in just a second. But this is on a street called Dartwood, and you sent this over to me. I used to work over here. I used to be a teacher, so
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
if yeah, a lot of people don't know. Before got into real estate in 2018, when the year my son was born. I have a music school. That's how I met Rick Fisher. Rick's on the call. That's how I met him. Um, and I got to the music school while I was a school teacher in Galena Park. So this is an area I'm familiar with. We have sold some homes. So what do you want to say about this property on Dartwood we're going to take a look at today?
This property, just a little bit of background. We got this property from a referral. So basically, a friend of ours who I've known probably since 2013. So about 12 years I've known him, and he knew what we were doing in real estate. And he reached out and said that they had a death in his wife's family. It's actually like his wife's uncle, and he was made the executor of the estate, and that he was responsible basically for selling this property.
Oh
But
wow.
it had been vacant for a couple years, and he asked me if I wanted to take a look at it. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it. So we went to go take a look at it. Not only has it been vacant for a couple years, but it's also like, I think I would consider it a hoarder home,
Okay.
hoarder house.
Is
So
this it? Am I looking at the right house?
let me see here.
This is from the back. Believe it
Yeah,
or
that's
not,
from
we
the
got street
back,
view from the back.
actually. Yeah, that is the house, but that is from the back. Yeah, you're right. That's from the
And then
back.
from the
That is
front,
yeah, that big tree in the front. Yep,
this.
that's it right
That's
there.
it.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
big old tree, man.
Yeah, it's a huge tree. Yeah.
Are you gonna
Yeah.
rip the tree out?
No, I think we're just gonna trim it up and make it look good. And then they had foundation repair done that's warranted. So once we get the house cleared out, we'll kind of
Okay.
decide, do we need to, do any more foundation work? But it's in pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
And I can kind of walk you through like you know what we saw when we walked into the property, and the condition of it and what we plan to do for it, and we can go through all those details too as well, Austin, on kind of
Okay.
the comps that we use to come up with, like, the ARV and whatnot.
You don't think the
And
tree's contributing to the foundation issues, do you?
well, I think it did. So like you can tell from that photo, right, or from that street view, like all of that driveway is just, it's in the shambles, really. And but I think the tree did contribute to some of the issues. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if you have any photos of it, but
I
so
do. Yeah.
what I do, so when I'm running these numbers, um, I try to approach this as like unobjectively as possible. Like I tried to go into this without any bias, if that makes sense. So what I know, so if if you're an agent or you have access to HAR or Matrix, you can use this as a reference. So I'll just come in and I'll just say, I just want to see everything that's going on in this area. It doesn't matter where it is. I just happen to know this area pretty well. But so I'll come in and I'll look at the tax record. I can pull this up. I can pull up Realist. Realist is a tool that I use a lot just for pulling up tax records and getting information about the home. The other thing I like to look at, uh, I'm curious if it had ever been on the MLS and
Hmm.
since HAR really went digital, since the current version of HAR, which is like 26 or it was like the late 90s when this version, the online version of HAR took the form that kind of we have. Like we don't have
Hmm.
any listings from like before like 1998 that we can look at. Um, so I got 1,457 square feet, three bed, two and a half bath, two, three beds, two baths, zero half baths. It's a 1978 build. So the year before the lead paint. The last sales date was 1988, so we're not gonna have a record of
Yeah.
that. But that looks correct.
Yeah. Yep. Hmm.
Okay. So are you thinking of holding it or are you thinking of leasing it out?
No, I think we're gonna flip this.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking at like I'm really interested in sales comps if
Okay. So
you want to
we'll
dive
look at
into
sales
that.
camps. We do want to look at lease comps because you always have to have a backup plan, especially in
Yeah,
this
and we can look at lease
market.
comps too. Hmm.
So when it comes to criteria for looking, I don't use radius. That's one of my 10 commandments. You got your 10 commandments of rehab you're going to talk about next week. For running comps, I don't use radius. And the reason is because there could be some railroad tracks or there could be a city line or a highway. And on the other side of that can be could create some variables
Okay.
that will throw the numbers off. So I like to stay within a section where everything from outer space looks similar. That's my starting point. So everything from outer space looks similar. I'll check my school district. I think school district and um, city's a little bit important, but school districts I find is more pertinent, like more important than the actual city.
Hmm.
So I want to know. You can see on the map that this is all in Galena Park. I can even go a little more micro and look at the elementary school, which I believe this is Purple Sage. Yeah, so this is part of it's zoned to Tice, but I don't think that's gonna like you could consider like cut now that we know that there's a school boundary right here, we may want to consider cutting those houses out. Um,
Hmm.
because you may have two schools real close to each other, and as we know, they can throw your numbers off. So I'll leave it like that for now, just a starting point. So
Okay.
these are all pretty similar. Now, let's see what else is on the market. Let me remove that line. So now I've got kind of a sample to work with. And my criteria is I'm starting with like a 6 month
Hmm.
time frame. If I can do this within 6 months, I will, because it looks like I do have enough data. In fact, if I even get like real close, I have this house that sold for 160. It's 1,400 square feet. I'm gonna look at all my results. So I'm gonna look at okay, what based on just kind of this, what's the most money that we can get? So I'm gonna sort this by the highest sold price. So I'm just trying to narrow down a couple of good comps.
Yeah, but did you make any changes, any criteria changes on on the size of the property?
Not yet.
Okay.
I probably will, but looking at what I'm seeing now, there's not a large variety in sizes in this.
Well, yeah,
This,
I mean, you've got some that are like 1,200 square feet. You've got some that are 1,800, 2,000 square feet. I mean, it is pretty, I think there is a large range here that I'm seeing. Like if you sort by square footage, you can see it easy.
yeah, there are, and we're at 14 and change, 1457. So I
Yeah.
want to get rid of, but just to give you an idea of, so this is really interesting. If you include terminated listings, active sold, there's a lot of expired and terminated listings. So there's a lot of properties, and just to show you a trend, there's a lot of properties in this community that are not selling when they're listed above,
220.
even in the 220s. I see a lot of these are just, they're not selling.
Hmm.
But all my sold comps are indicating that my buyer in this market is in the high 100s, low 200s.
Yep.
These homes are being listed at 250 and above. I mean, they're not selling. This one's too big, so I agree. We need to come down. This is too big. This is too big. I'm just looking at the sold 1600. So this is starting to narrow itself down very quick. If I go 1600 and below, it's going to cut out a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, with Matrix, you just got to be patient with it. The highest sold comp that I have sold for 200. So I wouldn't be able to promise you that you can sell it for more than 200,000. You might, but just to be safe, this is what you have to do. So when people are like, tell me what I need to do to get the most, I think we lost Albert. When people say, tell me what I need to do to get the most money, it's you're in a you don't want to open your mouth too quick because there's no emotion, there's no opinion, there's no bias that we want to put into this. Basically, what I'm looking is at 14650 Dartwood. This house,
Hey, I'm
this
back,
is
Austin. I'm back, Austin. My power
well,
went out here for a quick second. Sorry about that.
welcome back. Yeah, you went dark blue. So what I'm saying is when somebody asks what do I have to do to get the most money, they're going to expect me to say, brand new tile, brand new roof, brand new AC. That's not necessarily the case. So what I want to say, this is not an emotional decision. There is no bias to this. So what I'm looking at right now is I just want to look at the house that is the most similar, that's sold for the most money, and take note of what the sellers at 14650 Dartwood did, which I think is down here, if I'm not mistaken. So this
Yeah.
was then on Matrix, when I see two pins, it usually tells me that it was a flip. Or no,
Hmm.
it was listed at 210. This is a really interesting fact that they were listed at 210
Hmm.
from November until April. They took the house off the market. Maybe they put a little bit of money into it. They relisted on the 16th and then it sold on the 10th. So they actually relisted at the same price that they were listed at. So they must have done something to the house and they took it off the market. Probably some negative feedback. So let's look at what they did do. So first thing that jumps in my mind, the curb appeal is decent. Um, I don't know, that slab looks nice. The new concrete
Hmm.
on the driveway looks nice. Looks like it had just rained. The paint looks good, the siding looks good, the brick looks good. Nothing too fancy.
Yeah.
All new paint, all new fixtures, all new tile. So they did go pretty much all out, but you're going to see like some drywall blemishes and new.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, they've got new granite countertops, just the regular kind of granite, nothing special. You've got shaker cabinets, painted the fireplace, right? Updated flooring, things like that. I think this might be virtual staging.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Uh, so what we're doing, and this particular floor plan is exactly like the house that we have that we're going to
yeah,
close on. And so our goal is to fix it up similar to this, but maybe a little bit better,
yeah,
just a little bit better. We're not talking like tens of thousands of dollars better, but considering the condition of our property, I think what's going to go a long way is like redoing that driveway and the sidewalk, leading up to
yeah,
the front door. There was a
yeah,
back patio that was completely like half of it's there, half of it's removed. So we're gonna re-pour the back patio as well. Um, Redoing things like fencing and stuff like that, goes a long way as well.
yeah,
A lot of people, yeah, you see this has a brand new fence too. A lot of people forget about that, or they forget about it, and then when they need to replace it, they realize how expensive it actually is to
yeah.
replace, you know.
It's
But
amazing how far just having some green grass that really goes a long way when it comes to
yeah,
buyers.
yeah.
So I think this
So,
would be your,
those,
oh, this is a
yeah,
good touch to it.
yeah.
So I would think that this one house may be like your doppelganger, like your
Yeah, so
reference.
we're gonna list probably around 210, 215. Really kind of depending on when we're done. We haven't closed on it yet. It's still going through probate, but we should be closing next month, and then it'll probably take about 3 or 4 months to get it done. And I've got some photos and video if we have time to kind of go through that too, so
Yeah,
y'all can see the condition of the property.
yeah, you can share that with us. So real quick, before we do that, have that ready to go, and I'll let you share your screen with us. So I would say conservatively, I would be prepared for it to sell at 200.
Yeah.
Um, if you can always get away with selling it for a little bit more if you do a little bit more, but there's never a guarantee.
Yeah.
Because like this home right here is, I mean, it is smaller, but it's on the
Hmm.
market. It's been on the market 3.5 months and it hasn't moved yet. 14658 Flair. In fact, they've been listed. This one has been listed multiple times. They've been really trying to sell this home, but they're not pricing it right. In fact, they fired their poor agent, it looks like. And this
Hmm.
agent worked on selling it for five months. And I mean, this needs way more work. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
these
This one's
these I wouldn't have taken this
Yeah, this is
listing
way
for,
overpriced. Yeah, no, it's way overpriced.
if you asked me to list this for 220, I would have been like, no, I don't get paid enough to, I mean, you don't get paid for houses not to sell.
Right.
Yeah, so this Dartwood one I think is a good one. 6322 Purple Sage. Your garage is bigger. I think that small garage really limits buyers,
Hmm.
it limits sellers, and these updates are not like that's very weird.
Hmm.
That I always tell investors like you got to really be careful with these weird floor plans because somebody put a wall right through the middle of a window. Buyers hate that crap. At every price point, buyers hate that stuff. So this one,
Yeah.
you can beat that one. But you know what's interesting is like this 195, the one that sold for 195, and this other one that
Hmm.
sold for 200, that's a $5,000 difference. But there's like that's what the market does. It's like night and day difference, you know? You just finding
Hmm.
that sweet spot. Let me look at homes for lease real quick. Or
Yeah. No, I was gonna say there's two more on Dartwood that we looked at. 14606 and 14662. If you go back to your list, I don't know if you have them in there. Um, let's see. One four. So you have 14650. Yeah, for whatever reason, they're not showing up on your list. Let me see. When did these things sell? Well, they sold a little bit more than 6 months ago. Yeah. So they sold those two, they sold back in January. So that's why they're not
Okay.
showing. Yeah, yeah. So, but two hundred, 210 around that. We're getting this at a pretty good price. Our renovation is probably about, I think we'll be all in for about 140, 150 all in.
Okay.
And if we're selling
Nice.
it for 200, yeah, then I think we should do okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
take
think if
that.
we can net, like our goal is to net 30K. If we can do that, and I think we have a pretty good chance of doing that, we'll be happy with it with this project.
So if you can sell it for, I'm gonna say 205, just to be conservative.
Our
Hopefully,
goal always is to try to make 15% of that, like net
okay.
15% of that. Like that's our goal.
So depending on your closing costs, a good rule of thumb for closing costs is 7.5%. You can probably get that number down, and then
Yeah.
you're at 190. If you're going to be all in at, you said 140,
Yeah, 140, 150, I guess. Yeah. Say one, yeah, 150.
better be conservative.
Yeah.
I messed up. 180. Let me try that again. I forgot a zero. So if you sell it at 205
Hmm.
and you subtract, give rule of thumb for closing costs is 7.5%. That's going to be your net. You're going to be in at 150,000. You should be putting 30,
Yeah.
close to 40K in your pocket. Probably more than that.
Yeah. And then
I
minus holding, like, lending costs. So, but it's not going to be our loan's not really a lot. So, we'd be paying about $1,500 a month. And if we can get done in 4 months, that's what, 6 grand, right? In interest.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean I would still take that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Let's look at the lease comps for
oops, sorry about that.
Hmm. So Dartwood Drive. I wonder why they called it number C on the. I'm gonna do quick um rental comps. Yeah, you need money for this one? I want to jump in.
I
So there,
did. I did. We have an investor on it though already. She's all in. So and that's really cool because we talked about lending for the past 3 weeks, and so this was a really good opportunity to bring another private lender into our network. So this is her first project with us. So we're really
very
excited.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is probably a good time to talk about the 1% rule. So the way I talk about the 1% rule is if you're if you're trying to make a decision whether to hold or buy, the 1% rule is probably good. If you can lease it out for more than 1% of what you can sell it, so you can sell it for 205,000, for instance. If we can get you more than $2,000 a month in rent, we need to really consider that.
Yeah. You can look at them and I can kind of show you what I came back with.
Okay. So what are these? I've got something on here
Yeah,
that,
those look like apartments.
yeah, where are they? Oh, they're down here. So yeah, you don't ever want to include multifamily comps in your single family comps when it comes to leasing because that will totally mess your numbers up. I see a lot of red, which means people are leasing. There's a market for renters.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I only have one that's above 2,000 square feet and that leased out for more than $2,000.
Yeah. We had our,
Um,
our rental comps at $1,700.
17, everything else is 1850 and below, between 1550 and 1850, or between 1550 and 1750. These small
Hmm.
ones are going to get, yeah, I agree with you, 1700. The good news
Yeah.
is if the market, tanks in the next 3 months and you do need to hold it, you can probably you'll be fine
Yeah,
if you end up
exactly.
holding.
Because we could refinance it if we needed to, and that refinance would cover it would pay off our lender, you know. So then basically we just be delaying that profit from the
Right.
flip for
Yeah.
as long as we need to rent it out, market rebound, whatever, happens. But I think at this particular price point, this 200 to 210, like you were looking at earlier,
Yeah.
all those sold comps were selling in that range. Even if we have to,
Right.
let's say we have to drop it to 190, and the type of renovations that we do, if we drop this to 190, it'll be gone like in one day,
Yeah.
you know. So, but we're prepared, like, because you saw the margin that was there. If we do have to do that, we can.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's good. You want to share what you have?
Yeah, I can share just kind of some photos and video. Let me make sure I get the screen right. Okay, cool. Let me do this now. Share screen. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. There we go. Can you see the exterior of the house?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like whenever I'm walking a property, I like to take pictures of the exterior of the house, the roof if I can. But I'm looking at like rotted fascia boards,
Hmm.
any kind of wood rot on siding and things like that. So that's kind of why I'm taking
It look
photos here. You can
it looks
see
like the
this is
gutters were just removed.
um yes, yes, you're right.
They were
There
like
there
disconnected.
was a gutter system here. Yes, correct. And here, this is twofold, right? I was taking photos of how bad this driveway was, and how much it's kind of sank or whatever's happening here. But if you look in the garage, you can see it's a wreck, in there. And what was interesting was the homeowner or the seller, the executor, I should say, was saying that there was a roof leak, but it's weird because all of that like insulation you see there, it's like bone dry.
Hmm.
Typically when you have a roof leak over time, if it's leaking, all of that insulation gets really wet and damp and discolored, and then it kind of comes through the sheetrock in the ceiling. But what I didn't feel like that was the case. The sheetrock was bone dry, the insulation was dry. So I think something else was happening. They just weren't sure.
Right.
So yeah.
There's something else interesting about this picture that you're not bringing up.
Oh, go for it.
I don't know
Well, the
if
fact that
anybody
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
for it. What am I missing?
Does anybody see the discoloration in the cement? So this you see how there's a square.
Yeah, that's
The two,
foundation.
there's
Foundation.
so at some point Edric Edric hit the nail on the head. At some point there was a foundation job done on it. It doesn't look like
Yes. Yeah, I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the call. They did have foundation repair with a transferable warranty.
okay. So that might be your
Yeah.
saving grace, man.
Yeah, yeah. So they have documentation on that too. And once we get this house cleared out, we'll take a look at the foundation and see, does it need to be repaired or adjusted or whatnot. And so we'll make that. We just couldn't really see anything or get that determination with all of the stuff that was in the place.
Do you have any idea when that foundation was repaired?
Uh, hmm. I can't remember the date, but he did give it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the warranty is well, and it was done by Allied, right? So I think they have a
Okay.
lifetime transferable warranty. Some other like smaller firms only have like a 2 year or 5 year transferable warranty, but I think
Okay.
Allied has a lifetime
Lifetime.
transferable warranty. Yeah. So, let me just go to the next one. Let's see here, because I don't want to show you the video here. So, like, there were some cracks, in the brick as well that
Yeah.
looked like it was just manually repaired there. This is just rotted siding here. I'm taking photos of things like that. Now this is the like they have this patio with this cover on the top, this roofing, whatnot, but I'm making note of entry points into the attic area, right? The things that need to be sealed up, repaired. Also, too, when I do get in the attic, looking for animals,
Hmm.
pests, things like evidence of all that as well. This is the back patio. I told you like it was in pretty rough condition,
Yeah.
so we're gonna redo all that. They do have trees in the back. Let me go back. I did the wrong thing here. Here we go. They have trees in the backyard too that you can't see it. But it does have what I like about this is you got grass growing up around the house, which is good. Like we talked about that on that comp as well. I was taking photos of the roof, and I felt like the roof might have been older, but my contractor came by and took a look at it, and he goes, "No, this actually looks a lot newer." I
Okay.
was like, "Oh, cool. So maybe we don't have to." And this is what I was telling you about, like there's nothing looks wet to me. Like it just looks dry. Even the decking, right, is not discolored. So I'm not exactly sure what happened in this garage, but it's also the garage, and this is the only
You
place
know,
that
this seam, I don't know if you can zoom in on the left seam of that sh sheet. It looks like it wasn't nailed into the studs.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
like maybe it wasn't just fastened the right way. Because originally those houses probably would not have had. See, that's not even against the way I'm seeing it, it's not even on the stud.
yeah.
Those those
I think it
houses did
might
not.
be, yeah, but I mean, I think we can all agree like this is not wet. Like there's no
Yeah.
discoloration, anything. So I just think maybe it was installed poorly. And
Mhm.
the fact that they had insulation in this garage was kind of weird to me too.
Yeah. Was
So
there any indication that it may have been a previous conversion that they changed back to a garage?
no, no, they didn't say anything like that. Just kind of going through some of these photos. This is half of the patio was missing, and this is the other half that's kind of messed up anyway. And then another picture of the exterior. And then what I did on the for the interior was I just took a video um going through here. So let me see if this will actually play. Hold on a second. There we go. Let me turn this down for a second. Yeah, there we go. So this is just the garage.
Hmm.
Yeah, lots of stuff in there. But I
It
like
really,
seeing that.
it really
Yeah.
doesn't look that bad.
No. This then of the backyard, I'm just looking at the fencing, right? Is how much we need to. There's got another big oak tree in the back too. That's what I was telling you about. Yeah. And then let me go here. All right. So now I'm walking through. This is from the front door, you know, um, and I think they had electricity, but I'd always bring, a flashlight with me too. Because sometimes lights don't work or light bulbs are out, and I'm just kind of taking a look. So you can see there's the fireplace. This is just like that other property on Dartwood,
Yeah.
exact same floor plan. Maybe not necessarily a hoarder house, but there's just a bunch of junk that we're gonna have to clear out, you know. And that was part of our offer, right, to the owners was, hey, you can just come and get your like personal things that are sentimental to you. You can see the electrical box back there too as well. Um, and we'll get rid of everything else. We
Hmm.
just try to make this as seamless and smooth as possible for them. I think that's maybe 100 or maybe 125 amp electrical box, but we're going to redo that anyway.
Why? I don't know if you can go back to the panel. Was that panel was it relocated? Because there's a seam, a drywall seam around the panel.
Not that I know of, but what we'll probably do is relocate it outside.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me more about why you came up with that decision.
Well, I think current codes have the electrical panel needs to be outside of the house.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and being a flip, right? We want to, and we're going to talk about this with our general contractor as well and some other people. Do we really need to relocate it? I think we do, but maybe at this particular price point, this type of home, we might not. But it won't be that big of a deal to relocate.
Right.
But right, it's not really in that awful condition, right? It's just mainly
No.
full of junk. Like once we get it cleared out, like we're doing flooring, the windows are older, and door like we're replacing these doors with just upgraded doors. These are these like hollow, doors that are really cheap looking. Um, Upgraded lighting, you know, bathroom, like kitchens and bathrooms are really kind of what sell when you're flipping. So
Yeah.
updating these bathrooms as well. I think the previous homeowner was in a wheelchair. So
Okay.
you can kind of see some of the things were kind of built for him,
Some
including these things that are hanging from the ceiling.
yeah.
That's what he used to get in and out of his bed. And this was really weird. The AC return is right here in the shower. So,
Easy
talking,
fix.
yeah, easy fix. So kind of relocating that. And what I do when I'm taking this video, the reason why I like taking videos is you can back it up, slow it down and all that. So it's easy to
Hmm.
count doors, count windows, count light fixtures and things like that when you're trying to do your rehab estimate. So,
And
and
it gives you a better sense of the space too.
a
I've used
very
that
good sense of
everywhere.
the space, the layout, and things like that. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I think our rehab budget, including a new AC, is close to 70K, maybe a little bit less than 70K.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and again, like we want to do this right. We don't want to not necessarily cutting any corners, but we don't want to just leave things out. We want
Hmm.
people to, when they see the house and they buy the house, they move in and they don't have to worry about anything, right? They don't have to worry
Well,
about fixing anything.
yeah, absolutely. It's like that other house that we looked at. You got to kind of use that as a reference. So what are
Yeah.
your top checklist items on this project
So from the rehab perspective,
from the rehab
yeah.
perspective?
So for us, kitchens and bathrooms,
Hmm.
number one, right, is updating those bathrooms, updating the kitchen, with new cabinets. We don't typically come in and paint cabinets. Like we just take them out and just put new cabinets, like shaker style cabinets, just like you saw in that other flip on Dartwood. So updating those, updating the appliances, updating the electrical and the light fixtures and all new flooring. So we'll do luxury vinyl plank throughout. And painting that fireplace as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Updated, more neutral colors on the paint. And
Hmm.
then on the exterior, figuring out what are we going to do with that big oak tree in the front yard. But pouring a new driveway and sidewalk leading up to the front door and that back patio to me is going to add a lot of value to
Yeah.
it. Like we have to do that because you saw the condition of those things. We cannot leave it like that. So those are kind of like our big ticket items. And then the AC, of course after talking to our contractor and not having to replace the roof, like for us, that's a win. It's not
Yeah.
having to replace the roof. Because that could be another. I think this particular house we could probably get it replaced for about $6,000, maybe
Okay.
$5,000 to $6,000. So it's not a really big. It's just single pitch roof, so not that big
So
of a
number
deal.
number one is the AC. That's got to
Yeah.
be. Is it just not working, or is it on its last leg?
So it's old. It's not that old, but we're not really big on leaving it if we think there's going to be a problem with it.
Okay.
We've
Yeah.
done that in the past where maybe the AC is like 5 to 7 years old, which is very good AC. But because we didn't install it and we listened to like what the previous homeowner said, like, hey, it works. And then we start getting in and we start rehabbing and we're not really paying attention to it until, okay, now it's time to get the electrical up and we turn it on and then it doesn't work. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
darn, we didn't have that in our budget. So if we think there's going to be a problem with it, Austin, we'll just replace it. And our AC guys is pretty good too. Like he gives us pretty good pricing. And
Okay.
he's done everything for us from like just the system replacements like this, where you're doing the compressor and the furnace. And he's done full installations where in properties that didn't have any duct work or anything like that, he'll come in and do the whole thing for
Yeah.
us too. So
You
yeah.
brought up something I wanted to ask you about cabinets. It seems like a small deal, but you said we always replace the cabinets.
Yeah, I think we've painted cabinets maybe once or twice, you know. Every other house, like, and maybe it's just because of the types of houses that we find, that just need like full gut remodels. There's only been
Hmm.
a couple that have been a little bit more cosmetic, less than 50K. We've only done a handful of those. Majority of them are just 80, 90, 100, $180,000 renovations.
Yeah.
So but I feel like depending on the market, like this particular market, if we can paint those cabinets, but they're still going to look, old. They're just
Yeah,
going to look really painted, right? With those types of doors on there. So for us, it's just better to just rip it out and replace them,
and just do it all.
Yeah,
What
just
about
do it all.
floors? Talk about what you normally do for floors. And I'm
So
assuming that
floor,
a lot of what you're doing, you do the same thing on
Yeah,
other
at this
flips.
price point too, like we'll do luxury vinyl plank throughout the whole house in the wet areas too. So we'll do luxury vinyl like everywhere. As we get into higher price points, we'll do that throughout, and then we'll have tile, in the wet areas. So like in the
Hmm.
bathroom, laundry room, those areas. I'm not a big fan of doing tile throughout, and
Yeah,
some people love tile. I'm just not a fan of tile throughout the house. I don't know. I don't like it personally. So, and we just seem to, have a better experience selling properties the way that we renovate them. We've never done tile throughout. We've only done carpet in bedrooms in maybe one or two of our projects. We
hmm.
usually just rip all the carpet out in bedrooms as well, and we'll put just luxury vinyl plank throughout. You know.
Rick's asking, how do you determine the maximum
Yeah.
purchase price?
So the maximum purchase price, so we start with something called the 70% rule. And what that is we look at like the expected sales price or that after repair value, kind of what Austin was looking at comps, right? And let's just say for the sakes of this conversation, it's 200,000, a nice round number. And what we'll do is we'll take 70% of that, which is $140,000,
Hmm.
right? And then we'll subtract the renovation cost. So the
Yeah.
renovation cost, let's say it's 70K, right? So we'll subtract that and that leaves us with 80K. So for us, that's like our maximum allowed offer, or MAO. So when we come in with our offer, we're probably going to come in a little bit lower than that to just give us a little bit of room to negotiate. But working with this particular family, we knew them already and we kind of knew their background and already kind of knew what they were expecting to get for the property. We came in just at 180,
Yeah.
and again, I'm sorry, not 180. We came in at 80. And they were fine with it, right? They needed maybe a week or two to kind of discuss and they were fine with it. And you saw the profit margin that we have on this if everything kind of goes as planned, right? So, and walking away with 30 to 35, maybe 40K on a flip, that's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of things to do, especially if we don't have to mess with the foundation. You know, um, it's a win for us. But that's how we come up with that maximum purchase price. Yeah.
So that's a really good question. What I think is important to address in that context is what do you have to do to find those deals? Because for a new investor, they may come to this think, oh, I'll just buy that today. You're you're not going to come across a deal that meets the 70% rule every day. Like you're going through tons and tons of contacts, tons of deals. There's a lot of work just to get to that point, right? Can you talk a little bit about like how many deals do we analyze before we, find that 70 or 75% rule?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on like the way we look at it. Sometimes we will pay more than 70%, like maybe it's a 72% deal or 73% deal. If it's a really big renovation, we like to be at 70% or less.
Yeah.
If it's more of like a cosmetic thing where we're maybe spending, 15K to 30K to renovate a 2 or 3 bedroom house, that's like really just cosmetic, then we might pay a little bit more. Not a lot,
Hmm.
might pay a little bit more for that property because we can get in and out pretty quick.
Right.
you know. But the majority of the deals that I look at primarily from wholesalers, they're not 70% deals. Like
No.
they're kind of 80, 85%. I've seen some 90% deals. That doesn't mean you don't put an offer in though, right? Like
Yeah.
I would still encourage you if you're looking for deals and you're looking at wholesale leads, okay, because you're on a bunch of buyers lists, I would still put my offer in.
Hmm.
So what if it's 20 or $30,000 less than
Yeah.
what the whole wanting? Okay. You know what they're also doing? They're also sending you every single deal that you didn't even ask for, right? So
Yeah.
you're going to make an offer that makes sense for you. And either they'll get the picture that you're not their buyer or they'll start sending you better deals. And
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. Like you can't get a property if you're not putting in offers. That's on the MLS, wholesalers, pocket listings. I think people don't really do pocket listings too much anymore, but referrals too,
Hmm.
you get those referrals. We talked about it before in previous calls, putting yourself out there on social media, letting
Yeah.
everyone know what you're looking for, what's your buy box. Don't be shy, right? Who cares what other people think? Just let people know what you're doing. And that's how we got this particular lead,
Yeah.
So
It's called WORK. You gotta put the time into it. You gotta stay
yeah,
organized and put the work into it. Well,
yeah,
that great session, man. We do appreciate you making money in front of us all and showing us how to do it.
yeah.
Very good stuff. If
I'd
we
like
don't
to
have any
talk
more,
about this too, Austin,
yeah.
6 months from now or whenever we get this thing done. Now, we're not going to close for another month or more, but once we get this thing done, I'd like to revisit and see what did the numbers really pan out.
Oh, we'll stay on topic. Keep us posted with this one. Hopefully, get it closed quick, and you don't take too long on the rehab.
Yeah, that's the other
So.
thing.
All right. Well, this is my good friend Alberto Medellin. I am Austin from Houston. Appreciate you being on the call. We will be replaying this on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you subscribe. We hit 100 subscribers last week,
Awesome.
so now we're at
Great.
like 113, 114. So on the road to 1,000. Here we go. So one video, one day at a time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. And don't forget to subscribe, like, the notification bell, all that. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.